What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about some pretty worrying rumors regarding Naughty Dog and mainly regarding The Last of Us multiplayer yet again. Now, one thing I want to start out with, and it's probably different than other channels you've seen start out with, I want to talk about the source here, and I want to talk about Kotaku. Now, I'm very happy with the amount of people that responded to the news with, oh, well, it's Kotaku, so, do we trust them? That's a good thing. Kotaku is the laughingstock of the industry. They should remain that way. However, let me just throw out that although, yes, I think they're a joke organization, they really don't report on kind of leaks like this all that much. They do one every couple months, but they tend to be right. So there are some things that they still kind of have up in the air. They're the ones who talked about the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake and a few other things. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, you don't have to believe it if you don't want to, but wanted to throw that out there because it is Kotaku and they are a dying thing, and I think it's fair to kind of question if they have any idea what they're doing. But let's follow it through. Let's pretend as if this is going to happen, which I gotta be honest, I do believe it. If you're asking me, Alex, do you believe this stuff? Yes, that's my official answer. Not that it really matters what I say. However, we're not looking at some great things for Naughty Dog. We're not looking at some great things for The Last of Us 2. To sum it all up and to skip a lot of the fluff, two main parts. Number one, they've laid off around 25 employees. A lot of these employees are QA testers, okay? Now that, by the way, if that is true, and that you would probably find out very, very quickly. At the time I'm recording this, we still haven't found it out yet, but I think you would as the weeks go on once these people literally leave their jobs. If that's true, I actually would like to believe that it's because of The Last of Us multiplayer. So maybe you believe the layoffs, but you don't believe the multiplayer part. Well, if they're doing QA on it and they're firing, say, 15, 18 people that do it, well, why would you get rid of those people? It's because you don't need them. It's because you're not doing that stuff on the game. So that part, losing those people, that actually makes me believe the other part, the Last of Us part, even more. So that's one part of it. They say their contracts are expiring or ending at the end of October, so they're going to work through the month, and then they'll kind of be done with them after that. And no severance, kind of keeping it hush-hush. That's, I get it, but also it's ooh, we're in an era over the last couple months, really over the last year, 2 years. There's a lot of companies laying off a lot of people, and it's never a good look. It's just not. And for them, which way do you want to go? Do you want to just outright say, hey, we fired all these people because that makes you look bad? But then the rumor here is they're telling people to not talk about it, right? Keep it under, the DL. And it's oh my God, that's also not great. But which one do you go with? I don't really have that strong of opinion on that one. Final part is actually at the end of this Kotaku report. Most of it was talking about the layoffs, right? That was the main part of the article. At the end, they talk about while the game, The Last of Us, is not outright canceled, it's been put on ice. It's tough because you're not canceling it. I guess they are right. Literally what they're saying is what it would actually be. It's not canceled, but you're putting it down and you're just walking away from it. Now, let me just throw in a quick personal opinion that I've actually seen echoed on Reddit and all this stuff. The longer this goes, I do believe the more embarrassing this is for Naughty Dog, the longer this goes, the more, not insulting, but I really don't know how they messed this up. And I'm dead serious on that. You can talk all day long about the divisiveness, and we have on this channel, about The Last of Us Part 2 and all that stuff. The multiplayer of the first game, I think, is really good. And it's not all that complicated. It's just really good. And in fact, I wanted to play it leading into the second game's multiplayer. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do that because we might not ever get a multiplayer going forward. Why they couldn't have just really, at the end of the day, replicated it. Just almost remaster it and add some maps of The Last of Us Part 2. I feel like they went too big. I feel like this was the live service mantra, mindset that invaded all of Sony, and it ruined it. I'm very comfortable and confident in saying that because really, you just needed to take 7 to 9 maps from The Last of Us Part 2, use the same engine, use the same visuals. You have people, the way you can prone and get up and the new movement kind of features that they had in The Last of Us Part 2. You have that, and you have Team Deathmatch. And maybe you have 1 or 2 other modes. Why that doesn't exist, I don't understand. That's so, and I've said this 1,000 times. I understand me saying like it's so simple. I'm not the one coding it. I'm not the one developing it. I get it's harder. I'm not sitting here like in this gold throne saying like I'm better. I understand that it's difficult. But, like, I really don't see how difficult it would actually be. I think it would match the difficulty of the first game. What I truly believe happened is it was invaded, and this was part of the company-wide initiative to make it a live service game. Make it a game that, you know, if it's a multiplayer game, if it's the multiplayer in The Last of Us or Uncharted, Uncharted 4, Uncharted 3, Uncharted 2, if it's those multiplayers, they last, but they don't last all that long, right? They last for maybe a few months, maybe half a year. It's not raking in the dough. We want this game to be a standalone game. We want this game, people to be spending, like in general, all millions and millions of dollars. We want people buying cosmetics and all of this different stuff. We want this game to last like 2.5 years. That was their problem because like they don't know how to do that. And that's totally fine because why should you need to know how to do that? They had never done it before. You had the rumors of the Bungie thing that kind of like evaluated their portfolio. I just feel like they got messed up. I feel like they were told to do it a certain way. They couldn't do it. If this is true, Bungie came in, looked at it, they tried to figure it out, and ultimately, if it is true, they've decided we can't. Like, we literally cannot do it. You could argue maybe because of the Jim Ryan stuff, but we talked about that. Does the initiative to do live service, is Jim Ryan the only one saying it? Or is it literally the company, it's like expected that we do all these live service games? Because maybe like if Jim Ryan leaves and the mindset of Sony changes, but was it all on him in the first place? See, we don't really know that, but maybe then they say, okay, well, we don't have to do it anymore, so let's put it aside. Let's work on what we're good at. And let's, we'll come back to that later, or we'll transform it into just a multiplayer thing. At this point, just make it a multiplayer game, or multiplayer, I guess, component, and put it into Last of Us Part 3, which means, and as people have pointed out, it's very possible Naughty Dog is absent, besides Part 1, the remake, they're absent from the PS5, like, entirely, because by the time their next game comes out, you're thinking probably 3-4 years. That's right at the end. They might make it. They might do it like how The Last of Us was in 2013, and that fall was the PS4. It might be that. That's what realistically could happen, and that's sad. That is Sony's, like, that's a studio they put so much money in. It's their, like, golden child, even though I think Insomniac is far more valuable. Obviously, everybody looks to kind of Naughty Dog, and it's just, like, this is just, that's why it's embarrassing. I mentioned that word earlier. I feel, and I get it. I actually get it. I understand why it would be embarrassing. But one final thing that, let me just say, they need to say something. And I know you don't always want to address rumors because you kind of can make them bigger than what they really are. You got to come out there. You got to address this because I get it. You might not trust, and trust me, I don't like Jason Schreier literally at all. So would I like to not believe his report? Totally. Some people have said his report was garbage. So you have that. This is Kotaku. They're normally garbage, like 95% of the time. However, you do have just like what we can see with our own eyes, and it's nothing. We've seen nothing from this game for years. Not even, we have like 2-3 pictures of it. That's it. So I get not trusting bad people or bad websites or whatever. I get that. But like what we have experienced is nothing on this game. So I do think it falls on Naughty Dog, and they did this back in June, July, right, when the Jason Schreier thing came out. I think they got to come back out and talk about it again. And I know that's embarrassing. I know it's not a good look, but you kind of have to, because from what we can see, the game's failing. There is no game. We have seen nothing. Then from the report side of things, it's in grave trouble. So no matter which side you look at, I think they need to address it. And so hopefully they do. When I'm recording this, obviously they haven't, but we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.